Hello and welcome to this video in our Leadership in BPW webinar series. Today's topic is the role of committees and task forces. These are two structures that organizations generally always have, and yet many people are confused about the similarities and differences between these two. So today we'd like to talk to you about that. Our featured speaker for today is Elizabeth, known as Liz Benham. She's one of our past international presidents. She was president from 2008 to 2011. And Liz has also served more than once as her national president in USA, local president. She was one of our UN representatives for 20 years, etc. Liz has served BPW deeply and widely for a number of years. And before we give it over to Liz today, I'm Dr. Anne Hilty. I'm one of the co-leaders of this webinar series, and I will be giving a basic introduction to this, and then Liz will be going into more detail and also giving you her thoughts, ideas, and opinions about these structures. So first, some basic bones or framework of this. In order to understand these two premises clearly, we need some definitions. So first of all, for committees, committees are more formal, task force is a bit less formal. Both are working groups. So there's one difference. The committee is appointed to perform a particular function on behalf of the larger group. So it's a function of the organization, and different functions have different committees. And we'll get into some examples of that in a minute. So it's performing that one function on behalf of the whole organization. And typically this is outlined in the governance documents. There are two types of committees then, essentially two types, there are others, but the two main types are standing committees, which are considered permanent and essential to the ongoing functioning of the organization, whereas ad hoc committees, literally Latin for of a time, means that they're short-term and they're purposeful, still a particular function, as opposed to a task force, which, moving on to the second definition, a task force is an expert group. So it's not one function of the organization, but it's experts in a specific area, so it's theme-oriented. For example, a task force on equal pay day campaigns. We'll give more examples in a minute. And so it's formed for a specific purpose, and then it's disbanded once this purpose is achieved. Sometimes it's never disbanded because, as you all may know, BPW has been working on equal pay day campaigns, going back to our example, since 1930. Sad but true. So sometimes the task force is ongoing because it doesn't quite achieve its purpose. It needs to keep working. But it's not for a functioning area of the organization. It's a specific theme and it's a group of experts. These experts then often provide research and then report back to the rest of us and to the organization administration. And so they are creating our knowledge base. So one is function and one is knowledge base. We have committees and task forces at all levels, and I'll get into the applicability at all levels in just a moment. But let's look first at the international level, starting with committees. So we have two types of committees in addition to what I said before about standing committees and ad hoc committees. We have standing committees that are further broken down into two categories. Those that are chaired by an executive member from our executive committee, and that includes membership, UN and CSW, Commission on the Status of Women through UN Women, or our advocacy, primary advocacy, finance, and young BPW. So you can see that those four also relate directly to members of the executive committee who chair each of those. And they're also our really key functioning. There are also standing committees that are separate from the executive, so they get chaired by one of our members. And they're currently suspended because we are in the middle of a pilot program. So let's look at the ones that we have had until now. We have one on agriculture, arts and culture, business. So some of these are areas of typical employment for our members. Agriculture, for example, arts and culture. Business, trade, and technology, that applies to all of our business members. Technology to all of us. Development, training, and employment. Environment, health, legislation, projects, and public relations. So projects and public relations are probably more general to the functioning, whereas all of these others are more specialized areas, but still about functioning, not about further developing the knowledge base. So again, the definition of committees versus task forces. Each one consists of a chairperson plus 4 to 6 committee members. The chair is elected and can serve for a maximum of 2 terms, and the members are appointed each term. A little bit more about this in a moment. Then we have our task forces at the international level. These change for each triennium somewhat. Some are long-standing, but some of them have just been developed during this triennium. Others might come up during the next triennium. So task forces are very fluid. Remember, they are areas of knowledge, but they're also meant to be temporary and to report back or accomplish a purpose, and then they're finished. So they're not necessarily long-standing. Some of these, though, we do need on a more ongoing basis, as you'll see. So we have, I'm just going to pick some of these. We have archives, we have history. Those obviously are more ongoing for us. We have ones related to education and professional development. We have mentoring and twinning, which are 2 areas that we often are working together with colleagues and supporting one another. We have certain award programs like Power to Make a Difference, STEM education, women on boards, another area, as well as equal pay, areas that we've worked on for a very long time, and so on. So how to join a committee or task force? This is a really common question among our members. So first of all, we sometimes don't understand the difference, and secondly, we don't always know how we can get involved in them. So first of all, the committees, again, are temporarily suspended, and then we will vote at this year's Congress, in whatever form that takes place, on whether to keep that as permanently suspended or to reinstitute them or to change the format in some way. At this point, we don't know. So the chairperson, again, is by election during the Congress in the General Assembly, is also a member of the International Board, and can be renewed to a 2nd term only. Again, that's re-election process. The members are recommended by the chairperson in conjunction with regional coordinators. So your president could recommend you, if you tell her you're interested, to the regional coordinator who can talk to the chairperson, and so on. This is often a dialogue, and they get approved and appointed by the executive, and then the letter of appointment comes directly from the president's office on behalf of the executive, and their term is for that triennium. Again, they can be reappointed later on, but it happens within each triennium. A task force, remember, is a panel of experts. So it may be in some ways easier to serve on a committee because you're just volunteering your time and effort for that function, for the organization, like membership. Whereas the task forces, you should have some expertise to offer, and abilities for research or writing reports are also recommended. And so we have the chairperson here. This is by appointment, not by election. So they get recommended usually by their affiliate president and or regional coordinator. And then again, approved and appointed by the executive with the letter of appointment sent by the president's office on behalf of the rest of the executive committee. And the term is for the task force length of purpose, but it is also per triennium and maximum of 2 trienniums. Now, what do we mean by that? Some task forces may have a short-term purpose. Maybe they're even less than 1 triennium. They need to gain knowledge and give us a report in some area that we need during this triennium. So then that's a very short-term task force. And so that person would only serve for the purpose of the task force. If the task force is more ongoing, as many of ours are, then the chair can only serve for a maximum of 2 trienniums. The same as with committees. Members, again, are recommended. They can be recommended also by the chairperson if you know them or if you've approached them and talked to them about your expertise in that area. But they have to be approved by your president of your affiliate and the regional coordinator, and then they go to executive who also approve it. Again, the letter of appointment comes from the president, and the term is also, as with the chairperson, appointed by triennium, and then they can be reappointed if it's ongoing. But if the term of the purpose of the task force is shorter, then it would be for the term of that task force. How does this apply to our affiliates? So that was the specific committees and task forces at the international level. So committees, again, an affiliate, whether a club or a federation, would have both standing and often ad hoc or more temporary committees. And here are some examples. Again, remember the standing committees, or any committee really, of the, by definition, is to serve a particular function for that club or federation. So again, some examples at the international level that also apply at the national and local level would be membership and finance, perhaps also projects, public relations, international relations, greeting guests or communicating with other clubs, mentoring, twinning, professional development. These are all ongoing needs of any organization at any level. So these would be typical standing committees. Ad hoc, created on a temporary basis, could be a special event. You need a committee to organize and deal with that special event. When the event is over, so is the committee. So that would be one case. A fundraising project, a particular fundraising project, not the ongoing that the finance committee would handle. A community project, a committee that prepares everyone for conference or for Congress, regional conference or international Congress. Task forces, again, are temporary and areas of expertise, knowledge-based, and reporting back that knowledge so that everyone can benefit. And so they're in a kind of advisory function for the affiliate, and very purposeful. So maybe they're developing a program. Maybe they're collaborating with another organization, or they're gaining some particular type of specialized knowledge and writing a formal report to your affiliate. Working on specialized areas of gender equality or women's empowerment, like CDOC, or women on boards, or GBV, or equal pay, or women, peace and security. These are typical areas for task forces, very theme-based. Or a need that's specific to your city, country, or region. Maybe there's a particular thing to address in your area. It's not general functioning, it's specific to your area. So that's all I'm going to talk about now, and I'm going to turn it over to Liz. Liz, welcome, thank you, and the floor is yours.
Good day, everybody. We're here today on this wonderful series in leadership to talk about the role of committees and task forces in an organization. And I think it's a valuable piece of information that we really can dive into, drill down into, and see and make some decisions on how we think that that should function. So what I'd like to do always is begin with the mission statement of our organization, which is the International Federation of Business and Professional Women. And the mission statement says that we develop the business, professional, and leadership potential of women on all levels. And how do we do that? We do that through advocacy, through education, through mentoring, through networking, skill building, and economic empowerment programs and projects around the world. And as always, I say that's our mission statement in the New York Minute. So do we live up to our mission statement? Well, yes and no, but here's how we can. We, of course, have elected officers in the organization. We have a lot of programs that we work on, initiatives through our advocacy and so on. But let's for 1 minute look at the role of committees and task forces. Every organization, especially one that's voluntary, needs committees and task forces. And why is that? Well, first of all, in our organization, our committees are standing committees. These are ongoing committees that are supposed to have ongoing continuity in trienniums and serve. Most people are only allowed to serve for 2 terms, but it is an opportunity to get involved in initiatives that are outside of the organization's main goal and platform internationally. And so what we had decided many years ago is that we would have standing committees of members who would be elected to head them up. And there are 12 of them. And the idea by that is that we can expand on our advocacy, expand on our knowledge and wisdom throughout the world by having elected chairs who have a keen interest in these topics and who can put together a team that are just as interested in the topic and who can work and feed into the international organization their findings. There is real value to that, I believe. And so what we've done is we've taken the elected chair, who is elected at our General Assembly, who has to be nominated, of course, and then elected. But we've taken that chair then, and then in addition to that, we've asked that since we manage our international organization in 5 regions, that we take a member from each region that could then join the committee and be responsible in that region for information, knowledge, wisdom, pass it around, through to the members, however, on this committee. And then we went even further. We said, wow, okay, so now just say, for instance, that the Standing Committee of the Environment, so many of our members are into the environment. There must be in this international organization of business and professional women experts who really focus on this topic. So what we have decided and have done in the past and should do is continually look for experts in these fields and add them to the standing committees and the members and let them work together. The idea behind experts is that they're not then obviously as committed as a member of the committee, which has a criteria and requirement, but that they're there to feed in their knowledge and to actually share it with our members around the world. I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing because that's how we keep our members up to date with everything, around the globe. So the idea is, I think, wonderful, and that also, of course, develops the leadership potential of women inside the organization. That leadership is developed. We then can mentor as well. We mentor each other in those activities, and we actually can choose leaders who then have become familiar with the workings of managing a committee, managing a task force, and that can pull out of that some real valuable information and knowledge that the organization can build on and benefit from. And so that's where we can identify leaders and keep building and nurturing them to where we can then have more leaders in the positions of our international platform executives, elected executives. So the value, I think, is substantial, and it's rich. Our members in this organization of business and professional women, I think, is one of the organizations that is so blessed in having multicultural, many diversities of our members, and yet we can pull out of that the richness of benefiting from the knowledge of somebody living in Pakistan to where somebody's living in Germany. I mean, take a look at the difference in those countries and what happens there in the environment. Just the environment, for instance, is one of the projects, one of the task force. The standing committees. But look at what could be gleaned from having a task force working on the environment, a committee working on the environment that would focus on something like that. So I think that is a very, very valuable thing for our organization and something that we should certainly look at and build on. And for our members to get the benefit of. I think today we have wonderful tools that now, I mean, we could have electronic meetings on, for instance, Zoom, and have a committee meet once a month and bring forth their knowledge and whatever their action plan is, because each chair, of course, would choose with her members an action plan of something they'd like to work on. And again, it is building leadership within the organization through mentorship, because they mentor each other. But the action plan then is laid out, and they work on it for 3 years and can report on it to the website, through newsletters, through videos where we can share this kind of knowledge, especially on topics that are really globally of big issues that that could be looked at. So it's a real richness within our organization that we can drill down to get, and that what I think we should absolutely build on. And when we don't have committees and task forces, members have to rely on what's coming down from the top of the organization, and that could be narrow, could be very narrow. Whereas with the standing committees, as 9, 12 of them that we have this broad outlook on what we can glean from it. So let's talk about another one, for instance. Let's talk about business, trade, and technology. A committee like that focuses on business. The title of our organization is that we are the International Federation of Business and Professional Women. So what do we do internationally as an organization for our business members? Personally, I don't think enough. I don't think we have a big enough focus on business. Therefore, we have partners developed over the term, and certainly in my term as the president, we developed partnerships with the International Trade Center in Geneva. It is a UN agency, part of the World Trade Organization. And wow, what a benefit that was for our organization to be connected with that worldwide, and to be able to dial into the annual women's forums for getting women into trade and technology, and certainly for women to get access to international trade. Many of our women that are successful businesswomen are successful nationally, but do not have the ability to scale up to the international level. Our partners can help to do that. And through that partnership of the International Trade Center, how about we connect also international, another NGO that connects women around the world to multinational corporations, where multinational corporations who are desperately looking to do business with women, particularly because most corporations have a mandate that 5% of their procurement should go to women, and yet they can't find the women. So that's usually always the excuse. But here we are as an international organization of business and professional women that should be able to supply basketfuls of women who could trade. So I think the Business, Trade, and Technology Committee could just be so valuable to our members to scale up business from the grassroots. You know, in my travels, I mean, we have women traders in developing countries, a woman who would go to the marketplace every day, buy a basket of tomatoes, go on the street and sell her tomatoes. And at the end of the day, her basket is empty and she's made some money. That is the very bottom and the very grassroots level of what we call trade, until we start scaling that up, where, you know, in our organization, we had a woman who started to make chips, potato chips, in her home. She had this wonderful recipe and she made potato chips. And so she scaled that up finally to where not only did she sell it in the marketplace, but she began to supply stores and then began to supply it nationally. Well, think about that. How we can then support women to scale up their businesses and become national and international businesswomen through the partnerships that we have, the sharing of knowledge that we could have around the world. Again, look at the value of having members on standing committees from the different regions of the world and different countries of the world. How that could benefit the knowledge and wisdom that we share as women amongst each other, best practices that can be shared so that women could learn from that without paying thousands of dollars, without having to go to conferences where you pay thousands of dollars to learn things. Our committees and task forces can provide that value to our members through many platforms to give them knowledge for anybody who's interested in. And I surely think in our age of technology now, we could take it way further, where we could have our members dialing into many of the programs that would be a benefit of membership belonging to our international organization, where they could learn. And again, let's talk about the value of international organization. The value would be that members paying their dues would say, wow, I could learn from a standing committee in agriculture, in business, trade, and technology, in health, of what me as a professional is doing, what are other professionals doing in my field, in those countries and in those regions. Think about the richness and the value that we can get from that. But it has to also be, of course, managed well and controlled and reported. So the requirement is that the standing committees have to give reports of their work to the executive at their annual face-to-face meeting. And then the executive evaluate what's going on, can think about better ways to even disseminate the information, to share it if it's of value. So there's controls and there's ways that we can really build on this and again, develop the leadership potential of our members. How about focusing on another standing committee of health? Look at what health is for women around the world. And what is health like in developing countries? What is it like in Africa? What is health like in some of the European countries, the far European countries like Finland? You know, what is it like in North America? What is it like in the islands of the Caribbean in North America? What is it like in Latin America? That's knowledge that our members should have. And again, that could be shared with the standing committees. So I think it is a value should look at, build on, and a value that the members could take from that as a real benefit of membership to dial into and to be able to build their professionals, their professionality from it, their business acumen could be developed from that. And again, I go back to developing our leaders. So all of these standing committees are there, and I love all the ones that they are. I mean, young BPW, what better thing is to develop the young in our organization? The young BPW chair, who is elected on the executive, leads that standing committee, and of course should get members from around in the regions to support her. And look what wonderful ground we could have for developing leaders from our young members if we could really build on a standing committee like that. But let's just move away from standing committees. Let's just say, okay, you're not interested in any of those topics. Finance, of course, health, legislation. How about legislation? How about the United Nations status of women? Of course, we know how much work we do, and the focus of our work at International is on our partner, the United Nations, with our permanent United Nations reps that come from the Vienna, Paris, Geneva, and New York. They do incredible work on a daily basis, and members could dial into that committee and get some more knowledge of what's going on at the UN and the value of it. But let's just go away from that for a minute and let's focus on task forces. Task forces is another segment of this topic that we're talking about, where the members are not elected, they're appointed. So in this vast organization worldwide. There are members that are interested in mentoring, for instance, who have expertise in mentoring, who have expertise in leadership and lifelong learning. Those are some of the names of our task forces that we have. We have a history task force. We have an archive task force. I mean, if we are an organization of 100 years now coming up, what's the next 100 years going to look like? And therefore, we need a task force that will take care of the archive of this organization. So much of it is lost through no fault of its own, but you know, we don't have somebody who is chronologically archiving the things that we've accomplished over 100 years nearly, and what to look for in the next 100 years. So the history and archives are critical to our organization. Why? Because it gives our upcoming members in the next 50 years, they're going to look back and say, gee, they had a task force on equal pay. Isn't that interesting that even in 2020, women didn't have equal pay to men? How is that possible? But yet, here we are in 2020, working on equal pay. Now, for instance, here's a little history on that. In 2009, when I was the international president, we launched our worldwide Equal Pay Day campaign. And since then, the success of it is incredible. Countries like Germany took it up, countries like Switzerland took it up, and all around the world, women began to focus on equal pay. They had not focused on that before. And here we are now, where Germany is still leading in our organization in terms of their work of equal pay. They've made major strides. They got grants from their government to help to make the awareness, to raise the awareness in their country from corporations that this is something that is important. Why? Women, my goodness, if you don't make the same salary as a man during your lifetime, think of what that does when you get to be older. If what you pay into a pension plan is based on what you earn, you're about $500,000 behind a man by the time you retire. And what's so sad about this is there are women in poverty once they retire. Why? Because when I was a young girl, they were working and they were making minimum wages. And that's what went into their pension plans. And today, those women are living in poverty unless they took care of themselves. We need to change that. If we're all about, growing and diversifying and empowering women economically and professionally, we need to make them aware of these things. And task forces can engage those women, get the interest raised, and bring value back, bring real value back to the members. So it is, in my opinion, a wonderful richness that we can get from our organization and get from the members who are experts in all areas. We have members on experts in all these topics, and that could certainly help the organization and are willing to help in an organization that is based on advocacy, and we're, of course, are giving of our time, giving of our knowledge, giving of our wisdom, sharing and mentoring a sisterhood around the world. I think it's really a wonderful thing. So the last thing that I should just cover, and by the way, I'm available to anybody who would like to contact me for more information. I'm sure the webinar will give some contact information. If you want to discuss a topic or ask some questions, I'm always available for that. But the last thing that I should cover is just our ad hoc committees. We have a couple of real important ad hoc committees that are put up usually after a General Assembly. They're chosen, they're appointed, and that's a Constitution Advisory Ad Hoc Committee and resolutions, because as an organization, we always want to move forward with our governance documents, and those committees are there to advise and accept resolutions from our membership around the world and deliberate them at a General Assembly, and then see what we choose as an organization we would like to adopt and build on and work on. And the Constitution Advisory Committee generally takes a look at our governance and makes sure that it's keeping up with the times, advises our executive on any of the governance issues in our constitution, regulations, procedure manuals, all of our governance documents. So they're a very valuable task force. And again, they're made up of experts who really love constitutions, who love governance, and who love to work in that area of knowing the rules and regulations and so on, and how we as an organization should work. And we know that having rules and regulations is important because it creates fairness in an organization where everybody has to live by the same rules, just like in a soccer game or a game of sports where everybody has to follow the same rules. There's no favoritism. And it is guided by those and built on so that everybody has a voice and we can continue making this organization great. So I'll just close, I think. I think I've covered most of everything. I'll close with just saying that we are an organization that is committed to developing the business, professional, and leadership potential of women. And we do that every day in our educational mode. Our organization, I believe strongly, is an organization that is a real-time learning experience and a university. It is a university where you can learn with just being a member. The benefit of it is incredible, where without putting in a whole lot of money, we can glean tremendous knowledge, wisdom, and potential, develop our own potential through that, and build on this organization that's been going for 100 years and hopefully will go for another 100 years. So with that, I'll say, let's look at this university, this real-time university. Let's see what we can contribute, because again, it's not just about what you get, but you also have to give. And in our organization, that's mutual. The responsibility of being a member is also to give, not just to get. And in this instance, and on this platform of committees and task forces, it is truly about sharing, caring, and developing the potential of our business and leadership in the organization. So with that, I'd say thank you for listening. And again, appreciate all the members that we have around the world, all the friendships that we've developed, and the great sisterhood that we are. May we be there forevermore. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz, for your great contribution to our Leadership in BPW series, in this as well as some other presentations you've given for us and the library here for our viewers. We deeply appreciate your insight and your long-term experience and at the highest level, including international president of BPW, and your thoughts and ideas and your passion for the committees and task forces as the bones of our organization. So we deeply appreciate that. We are thankful to you too, our viewers and sister members of BPW, for coming and taking the time to look at these videos, and we hope that they're helpful to you. We also hope that you share them with your own affiliate and with all of your friends in BPW. Check back here, because we're adding more videos all the time. If you want to join a live webinar, check our Facebook page or write to us so that we can give you the information. We have a once-a-month live webinar as well with audience. Thank you, and see you again soon.